This is Coach Josh here, training for Warriors Portland, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about injury prevention and what that really means here at Training for Warriors. Because the way I see it, I've been in the physical fitness world for a long time, and I've observed a lot of different focuses come and go in the fitness industry. And I really like injury prevention because I believe it is, one, a requirement for long-term vitality in terms of feeling really good in your body day in and day out. Two, I think it's the gateway to performance enhancement. I'm going to show you what I mean by that when I go through a few of the fundamental ideas around injury prevention and how we use it here. So behind me is the spectrum. This is a common training spectrum in the strength and conditioning world. It goes from stability on one side to power on the other. And this is sort of the order of approach for taking care of somebody's body and progressing somebody through more and more intense training. And it doesn't always mean these are different phases like in a program. Sometimes these are all done, often they're all done at the same time. But classically you have a power exercise like Olympic lifting, like a snatch or a power clean or a kettlebell swing. And then you have strength movements like a deadlift, bench press. And you have mobility drills, which often people do before training to warm up. And then you have stability work, which is like rehab drills or injury prevention drills, sort of stabilize joints. And I'm going to define all these terms because I think a lot of people go through their reading articles on the internet, they never get into the weeds about what that actually means. So for our work here at Training for Warriors, when I'm talking about stability, I'm talking about the ability for the joint to be able to keep itself away from positions that harm it. So being able to move pain-free through a given range of motion. And that's the first thing on the spectrum because in the absence of stability, of instability, and along with instability comes decreased performance, pain, and increased susceptibility to injury. So if you have think about a shoulder that comes out of socket really easily. Well, that shoulder is not something you want to throw baseballs with. It's not something you want to pick up heavy objects with because that shoulder will just pop right out. That's an unstable joint. That's a dramatic example of an unstable joint, but all of us have different degrees of joint stability. And stability is the ability to be functional and stay out of pain. And then mobility for us means to move through a complete range of motion. And that complete range of motion, there's some parameters, there's some ranges that equate to complete, but in general, some joints are pretty obvious, like an elbow, when it's that complete range of motion. And most of us have similar degrees of elbow flexion as we do with elbow extension. So that's a complete range of motion. If you can see then how these things fit together, if my elbow were to hyperextend or to pop out and go the other way, that would be an unstable joint and cause me pain at the same time. So far we've got stability, mobility, ability to move through a complete range of motion. The order is important because we wouldn't want to move so far. We wouldn't want to have mobility first and then stability, so we can move further than we can stabilize. Perfect. We can move further than we can stabilize, and then be susceptible to injury. The third thing on the list is strength. So strength comes after mobility because if a joint is unable to completely function, you don't often want to start to strengthen or load that joint. You want to usually enhance its range of motion or its capacity to do the thing it was meant to do. So I'm trying to think of an example, but if you can only do a quarter squat, you want to expand the range of motion of that squat. So you want to get deeper and deeper and deeper and worry about the quality of that squat in other ways besides the amount of weight you can lift. So strength is not the most important thing at that moment until you have the mobility that you can start to build up some strength and have it make sense for the functionality of your body. And then finally power, which is just the amount of weight you can move with regard to speed. So power is jumping off the ground, explosive movement. It is a fast kettlebell swing where you're being extremely explosive with it. Again, like a Olympic lift, a clean or a snatch, all power. A jump squat, anything where you have to move both quickly and move some weight. So that's a definition of power for us here at Training for Warriors. So we've got all these different degrees and stages of movement. And injury prevention usually focuses in these two areas, stability and mobility. And when we're doing our warm-ups at the beginning of a training session, we usually call that movement prep because for some people it may be expanding mobility, for some people it may be expanding stability, for some people it may be developing power and getting ready to do some really serious work that they're about to do. So the actual kind of movement preparation is dependent on the movements that that person's doing and where that person's body is at and where on the spectrum that they are. So your warm-up or your injury prevention or your movement prep can be different for every person depending on what you need and what you're trying to accomplish. So all that being said, how does injury prevention equate to performance enhancing? Well, two reasons. One, if you're in any kind of pain, your ability to perform will be reduced because pain has an inhibition quality. It inhibits the motor neurons that fire your muscles. So it slows down the recruitment of muscles and it avoids, especially your brain likes to avoid painful positions. So things that cause you pain will be things that your mind is avoiding, and it'll be very difficult to have a high-performing skill that puts you in pain, puts you into a place of pain. Obviously, if you're a very advanced athlete, sometimes those movements do cause you pain, but it's even doubly or triply important that you're taking care of it and you're doing your injury prevention routine. And the second way that injury prevention is performance enhancement is the fact that injury or your movement prep or the work that you do to prepare your body often has or should have a postural component to it. And posture, the orientation of your joints as you stand or the orientation of your joints as you move, your posture affects everything that you do. The muscles you recruit, the efficiency of those muscles, the amount of strength and power you're able to produce, and obviously the way that you recruit your muscles and your joints affects whether or not that causes you pain. So, by changing your posture and by keeping your movements efficient and pain-free, injury prevention is performance enhancement when you do it properly. And that's obviously what we aim for here at Training for Warriors. And it's something that, it's not that glamorous, but it is really effective. And I'm going to share with you some of my favorite ways to prevent injury and improve performance by concentrating on on certain joints and making sure they all work together properly. So we'll share some of our favorite stuff with you in our next episode, but that was our overall perspective on injury prevention and performance. And stay tuned. If you have any questions, shoot me an email or a text. Until next time, Coach Josh, Training for Warriors Portland, helping you bring out the warrior within.